I am Judy Godfrey, along with my colleague Sue Hatley. We are Program Support Specialists in the Office of Federal Programs. This recording will be accompanied by a frequently asked questions and other resources to assist with reporting and submission. Comparability of services is a fiscal requirement for recipients of Title I Part A funds under the Every Student Succeeds Act. This requirement is an assessment of services provided at Title I Part A and non-Title I Part A campuses. Public school units that receive Title I Part A funds must use their state and local funds to provide comparable services at their campuses receiving Title I Part A funds and their campuses that are not receiving Title I Part A funds. As you prepare to complete comparability, be aware there are exclusions. A PSU must exclude any resources paid with federal funds and private funds. A PSU may exclude state and local funds expended for bilingual education for English learners, may exclude excess costs for providing services to students with disabilities, or may exclude supplemental state or local funds used to meet the intent and purpose of Title I. There are comparability exemptions. The comparability requirement does not apply to a school with 100 or fewer students, a PSU with only one school for each grade span, or a school with no comparison school in the same grade span grouping by enrollment size. Exempt and non-exempt PSUs must complete and submit the comparability assurance in CCIP. PSUs are not required to include unpredicted changes in student enrollment or personnel assignments after the selected point in time. PSU-funded alternative schools and virtual schools must be included in the respective grade span. The comparison is made between like grade spans, for example, elementary to elementary, middle to middle, high school to high school. Student-teacher ratios and/or expenditures are calculated between Title I-A schools and non-Title I-A schools. All students enrolled in Title I-A and the non-Title I-A schools must be included in the report. Kindergarten students are included and their count is determined by whether they attend full or half-day sessions. Grade spans are defined as K-5, 6-8, and 9-12 in North Carolina. All schools within a grade span, regardless of their grade configuration, must fit in one of the three identified grade spans. When it comes to instructional staff, calculate the full-time equivalent numbers of certified and non-certified instructional staff who are paid with state and local funds that are regularly assigned to each school listed. Staff members whose full salaries are paid with federal dollars and are not to be included in this report. Each PSU determines the definition of instructional staff. Definitions can include certified classroom teachers including art, music, physical education, and others providing direct instruction to students. School counselors, speech therapists, media specialists, social workers, psychologists, and others providing support services that impact instruction. When comparing student instructional staff ratios, the PSU must consistently include the same staff members in the ratios for both Title I-A schools and the comparison non-Title I-A schools. Staff salary differentials for years of employment are not included in comparability determinations. Carefully consider whether a paraprofessional supported with state and local funds should be considered equivalent to a teacher or other instructional staff.
There are two pathways to complete comparability reporting. Pathway A may be chosen if the PSU has the following policies. 1. A public school unit-wide salary schedule is followed. 2. a policy to ensure equivalence among schools in teachers, administrators, and other staff. And 3, a policy to ensure equivalence among schools in the provision of curriculum, materials, and instructional supplies. If you choose Pathway A, this is the header sheet you will see. If you answer yes to each of the documents in the equivalence exemption, then comparability has been established. Documents must be uploaded along with this cover sheet into CCIP as documentation. Very few public school units have qualified using Pathway A. If you are considering Pathway A, please contact Judy Godfrey or Sue Hatley before completing this worksheet. If you choose to use Pathway B to determine and demonstrate comparability, there are 4 forms and 2 options for each form. Form A is Title I and non-Title I schools comparing student enrollment to instructional staff. Form B is Title I schools comparing student enrollment to instructional staff. Form C is Title I and non-Title I schools comparing students enrolled to instructional staff salary. And Form D is Title I schools comparing student enrollment to instructional staff salary. Option 1 utilizes grade span comparisons, while Option 2 utilizes larger schools compared to large schools and small schools compared to small schools. Note that a large school is defined as 450 students or more. If you choose Form A, you are comparing Title I to non-Title I student instructional staff ratio. Enter the information at the top of the document. Enter the information for each school. Student to instructional staff ratio in column 5 must be equal to or less than 110% of the average ratio of the non-Title I schools to be comparable. If you choose Form B, enter all PSU information at the top of the form. Enter the school information in columns 1 through 4. Only Title I schools are compared by student to instructional staff ratio using all schools, grade span, or size. The student to staff ratio in column 5 must be equal to or less than 110% of the average ratio of all the Title I schools in the grade span to be comparable. If you choose Form C, enter all PSU information at the top of the form. Enter the school information in columns 1 through 3. Title I and non-Title I schools are compared using student to instructional staff salary ratio by all schools, grade span, or size. The per pupil cost ratio in column 5 must be equal to or greater than 90% of the average ratio of the non-Title I schools to be comparable. If you choose Form D, enter all PSU information at the top of the form. Enter the school information in columns 1 through 4. The PSU lists all Title I schools by grade span. Title I schools can be compared by grade span or size. The student to staff salary ratio in column 5 must be equal to or more than 90% of the average ratio of all the Title I schools for the schools to be comparable. All PSUs, whether exempt or not, must upload a header sheet into CCIP. Enter all PSU information into the cells. This includes the PSU code, the name of the PSU, who prepared the report, the title of the person who prepared the report, along with their telephone number and email address. Put the original report date. If corrections are needed, you would enter the original report date and the revised report date. Enter exempt or not exempt in the field. The signature of the PSU assurance representative is required. This person must be the supervisor of the report preparer. An actual signature is required. The same person completing the report must not be the same person signing the assurance. Enter the name of the assurance representative, their title, and date. You will then upload the appropriate documents into the CCIP history log, and please remember, do not submit to Chief Administrator approved.
To highlight the 2025 comparability completion, comparability is a prerequisite for receiving Title I-A funds. The data for the report should be pulled from the month of October 2024. The comparability report is due on or before December 6th. Approval and/or feedback will be provided within 30 business days via the history log and CCIP. If you have questions regarding this report, or if an extenuating circumstance prevents an upload by December 6th, please contact Judy Godfrey or Sue Hatley. Comparability is a prerequisite for receiving Title I-A funds. Failure to show comparability can put your receipt of these funds in jeopardy. Please remember to retain all data, documents, and reports used for comparability calculations as artifacts for consolidating monitoring events. This is a screenshot of the comparability report checklist. We will use this document to review comparability reports. You too may use this tool to ensure that your comparability report submission meets all criteria before uploading into the history log of CCIP. However, you do not submit this checklist, and you are not required to retain a copy of this documentation for monitoring purposes. We will share other documents for your use along with supplemental resources and webinar materials. Once you have completed the comparability header sheet and appropriate forms, you will save them as a PDF. Then, sign into CCIP. Next, click on Fiscal Year 2025 Consolidated Funding Application, and under the History log, create comment. Then place a comment in the comment section. The PSU should write a statement that will indicate the report is ready for review. For example, Wonderful School District has submitted the fiscal year 25 comparability report. Attach the corresponding documents to the comment after writing the statement. After writing the statement and attaching the files, click the Send Email to North Carolina CCIP Contacts. Select the name of the appropriate NCDPI contacts, Judy Godfrey and Sue Hatley. Click Add, click Save, and go to Click section. The final steps include: click on History Log to check to ensure the document is present. Do not send the application to Chief Admin Approved Status in CCIP. Allow 30 business days for a response. If you have not received a response within 30 business days, please send an email to Judy Godfrey or Sue Hatley. Revisions should be submitted in the same manner.
One final note: for single-site charters or lab schools, if you have indicated on your consolidated application Title I grant details that you are a single-site charter, you will not be required to submit a comparability header sheet this year. However, you are still responsible and required to complete the equity plan. Again, please be reminded that comparability is reported in the History Log section through CCIP. Assurance Forms A through D will be available in the workbook format, one form per grouping. Prior to submission, remove all forms that are not chosen by the PSU for reporting. The due date for comparability reports to be uploaded into CCIP is on or before December 6, 2024. Thank you very much for your prompt attention, and feel free to reach out to either of us as needed.